So every single relationship right now on the face of the earth has a script, and there are five clear archetypes that are the scripts that relationships follow. And for every single one of them, men have a way to pay the price of the script. But in men as understanding how it's supposed to play out and what is really happening in the script, you have a better chance of mixing scripts together to ensure that you have a better chance. The first type is the endogamy relationship. Endogamy, ENDOGAMY. That is basically you marry inside your culture. You marry with the same circle of friends, the same religion. Everyone might have similar types of families, and everybody is happy for you because you're kind of making the culture and the religion survive. So families have a higher chance of pitching in. Families might pay for the wedding. They will set you up with like a house to live in, at least help out. And for the most part, this was the only type of relationship in the history of mankind, right? Of course, you could still have the couple going their separate ways, and usually, of course, because of laws, it's the same in all countries. That house that was given is the female one now. All right, moving on though. The endogamy relationship, the upside of it was like stability, a continuity of the culture. It had no real choices outside you had no real choices in such a relationship because everything was kind of scripted for you. People knew the exact rules, but the females limited by the things that they could do. The men limited by things they could do. Rules kind of given to them already. And from this society in the urbanized world moved on, you got another type of relationship, not the endogamy now relationship, but the romantic ideal type of relationship. And this is a relationship where two people met and they just like fell in love. They might have like similar interests by chance, but it wasn't really an ideal. It wasn't the part of the ideal to have similar interests, and it didn't matter really if the guy was rich, because this is not the hypergamy one, right? They just met and they fell in love. Maybe both of them would work towards having a good job. Both of them will contribute towards the bills. It was basically the type of relationship that the initial hookup part is what people would see in movies, romantic rom-com movies where people just stumble upon each other and work, and now they're in a relationship and both of them have equal amounts of financial responsibility, and they're working towards making a future together because it was love at first sight, and it is that type of starry-eyed partnership. It feels like that type of relationship could feel like magic in the beginning. It could feel like the perfect type of relationship, especially when compared to the first type that we talk about, which is the endogamy. The passion is very real in the beginning, but passion burns out often, and once it does, reality, bills, stress, pressure, most men struggle. Most people are struggling to just get by, and the pressure of being like a middle class person get to them, and those relationships fizzle out and end in divorce a lot easier than the endogamy relationship, even though people think the endogamy one was worse to begin with. And so that type is like the hopeless in love, romantic Hollywood type. And then you have a third type of relationship, which is the supplicating hookup relationship. This is where the guy is so very nice that he professes his love in the beginning, bringing flowers, waiting outside in the rain, is more the type of relationship you would hear about in a 1980s love song by like Michael Bolton or Bryan Adams or something like that. Not really fallen smitten in love with each other, but the guy just professing his love crazy amount that the girl have to say like, wow, this is a good guy, it's a good choice for me to get together with. And the thing about this is it could look really nice from the outside, but supplication and men jumping through the hoops and proving over and over professing their love, that is not really a thing that sparks female attraction. So it might more feel like the relationship where she thinks this is a good man. Well, it will end like she saying to him, you know, you're a good man, but I just don't feel it anymore. And he kind of has to accept that because he is a good man. And it kind of ends like that as compared to the second one, which is like the Hollywood hookup story. It more, those type of relationship more ends in a bitter dispute and anger, because where there was strong love, there's disappointment and from not being able to live out the dreams that they thought they would have, and those could end bitter for both parties. But the Hollywood type one, the love story type ones, those end with the girl moving on to something, to try something else, and the guy just accepting that, you know, they're friends, but she does not into it anymore. All those first relationship kind of had a marriage aspect of it and a, you know, commitment aspect like that. And then the fourth type of relationship now doesn't have that commitment and marriage relationship thing. It just is a casual hookup because the guy is either naturally a player or some kind of dark triad type personality, narcissistic with high charisma, manipulator type. Or maybe he's just a guy that studied the game from R.S.D. Tyler or from Neil Strauss or something like that before that whole kind of thing was cancelled. And this guy is the one who really understood female psychology and how to make sparks fly. So he got an attraction and a hookup because he was attracted to her, and he just made it happen using tactics and routines and stuff like that, right? And that type of relationship could feel powerful for the guy, but if the guy really not into the girl and really not wanting to commit to her, which most times in that type of hookup the guys were just in it for the casual fling of it, that could be a very unstable relationship, and usually it ends with the girl thinking that he's a predator, he has predatory instincts, and she thinks that he is toxic, starts to throw a tantrum towards him, and it ends bitter as well. But of course the player type guy just moves on to another one. And so number 5 is the hypergamy hookup, which is not like all the others. Is a guy who is so status max that the money, the clout, and the social esteem that he has, social currency he has to show his worth to the girl, the social position, he doesn't really need to do the tricks from the last guy, and he doesn't really need the smitten in love thing because he really given her a soft cushy life, and she is smitten by how much of a difference in social value she will now have. And it's really a marriage for security type relationship hookup, where the guy is like a transactional relationship where the guy is getting female companionship, sex for her getting getting to be part of his lifestyle. This is a relationship where it is built on the leverage that a guy has, not totally on love like the second type, or like the supplicating one where there was apparent love on one side and the money or status has to be maintained, and not maintained through frugality either. It has to be always whipped out and spent, otherwise the love could dip and dissolve really quickly. So that is the 5 types, and then right now we're going through a 6th phase in which there's not really no hookup on risk, but men just saying, you know what, the hookup not really worth the risk and not worth the marriage. And they're pulling out of the system altogether and protecting themselves by refusing to play these silly games that usually ends bitter, as described in the 5 types before. And from the inside, this type of thing could feel like survival for the man. The upside is it has no weird stuff to go through and no courts dragging you, not losing half your life savings. But the cost of it is a level of isolation and lack of social connection with the opposite sex, especially if you want that. And from this now, I kind of view this more as a pause in the current system while stuff is figured out, because I am of the belief that women, not even though it is something that could be like a collective bargaining strategy, so women could realize some of the weird stuff and the weird emotional games that they play. I'm not seeing that happening. I'm more seeing intensification of women, like talking to women who are aware of the movement. There's no way that they intend to change or to stop the games. It is more of like it is intensifying more towards hypergamy now. And that is what I don't like about the movement most of all. It's that it intensifies hypergamy, and it feels as though it could be I don't want to get conspiratorial, conspiracy theory like, but it feels like it is like a agenda to have the most powerful men have control over all. So I really do believe that there's time to not view this as an entire new wave that will go on forever, but to look at ways of looking at the old types of relationships, maybe some of the good things learned from the pickup industry, putting in some morals and values and some just better character into it, better understanding into it of the problems that happens from the other types of relationships, and using some of the better understanding of also female psychology, so that we could have relationships built on men coming from a place that is not based on intense supplication and the promises and love stuff, or even the cultural context, but you could be coming from a place of better understanding of how the female mind works, so that we could have a better shot at not getting ourselves hurt and having to opt out, and just maintaining something that's for the greater good of kids, or just humanity as a whole, for men and women, sanity as a whole. So that is my thoughts on that. The different types of relationship hookups, what is happening now, and what I think should be the next step forward. If you think that anything I said was valuable, so you could check out the other videos that I make on like similar topics, or you could leave me a constructive criticism or a harsh criticism too if you want in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching.